Hello, I'm Tara Hamilton Bay, the Center for Teaching Excellence coordinator. I'm also a faculty member in the biology department. And today we have Matt Smith joining us to talk about accommodations and the process that the OSSS goes through. Matt's the manager of OSSS, which is the Office of Student Support and Success. I'm going to turn it over to him. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks. Thank you. Again, my name is Matt Smith, the manager of the OSSS, and I would also like to introduce our new staff member, the manager of the Center for Teaching Excellence, Mary Jane.
Hi, everyone. It's brand new, just started this month, so looking forward to getting to know all of you better.
Excellent. Thank you, Mary Jane. Thank you, Tara. So we're going to go ahead and get into this presentation. Okay, so accommodations and the accommodation process at the University of Scranton. The Americans with Disabilities Act, or often referred to as ADA, is a federal civil rights law that prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities in everyday activities. Sometimes they define a person with a disability as somebody with a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. These life activities can be described as actions like eating, sleeping, speaking, and breathing, cognitive functions like thinking and concentrating, sensory functions like seeing and hearing, tasks like working, reading, learning, and communicating. And that's obviously where this comes into play in the college setting. Here's some examples of what the ADA defines as disabilities, anything from cancer, medical conditions like diabetes, mental health like PTSD, persons on the autism spectrum disorder, epilepsy, to intellectual disabilities, depressive disorder, or TBI, traumatic brain injury. That's just a little background about that accommodation process. But here at the university, the process is pretty standard across most universities. Students enter a request. Here we use the Accommodate system, which every faculty and student have an account with automatically that syncs with Banner. The ADA requires students to disclose a disability, meaning they need to come forward. We don't automatically know which students do or do not have a disability upon acceptance to the university. They also need to share documentation, which we have a set of requirements for that documentation depending on the disability. And then we review that documentation. We set up an in-person meeting, which is the final step that must also occur. Approved accommodations are sent via email to the faculty in what we call the accommodation letter, and that describes what accommodations they've been approved for. Here's a sample of a student accommodation letter to the faculty. It'll state that it's from myself, Mary Ellen Picarella, she's our learning enrichment specialist, and Rosemary Termini is our disability support specialist. And the three of us make up what we call the ADA committee. No decisions are made or approved without the three of us making those decisions together. During the summer months, we also work with an outside specialist, a third-party doctor that helps us review the documentation as well. This purple box is just covering up the example of the student's name. So this is the top half of the letter. And then you'll just see that the student, and I apologize for blacking out just for the sake of confidentiality, has a documented disability and is registered with the OSSS. And then underneath it tells you what exact accommodations that student is approved for. Here are some examples of our more common accommodations. So extended time, sometimes called additional time. Our accommodation letter says 1.5 or 2.0, and that just means either 50% additional time or 100% additional time if it's 2.0. The acronym RDA is a reduced distraction area. Note taking is a very popular accommodation, more so in current times. And this is something that the OSSS handles. We hire live note takers in the classroom that take bulleted style outlined notes and they upload them into the Accommodate system where the approved student is able to access them and then those notes to leave at the end of the semester. You may see ability to leave class discreetly. This is a little bit so we do not put a spotlight on a student that may need to have frequent breaks due to a medical condition. So it's just to kind of help us understand that we don't need to say, hey, why are you always leaving the classroom, right? To not put a spotlight on them. Attendance flexibility. This accommodation gets the most questions, so I do have a few slides coming up that will go into detail of attendance flexibility. You may see assistive tech or assistive technology. That could be the use of a computer in the classroom for note taking. It may include text to speech or speech to text software. That is where you can have something read the text out loud to you, or you can speak your answers into the software. You also may see live caption or transcription software for students with either a visual or hearing disability. So attendance flexibility, when you get the accommodation letter in your email, this is what will come up, and it says, please copy and paste this URL into a browser to review. Please note, this accommodation begins when the student and the instructor have a conversation about the facilitation of this accommodation. The reason is because the lawyers at the university had written up a description with the faculty a few years ago, and it doesn't fit into the accommodations letter, to be specific. This next slide is what that link will take you to. It is also the form that students sign for us in understanding this agreement. I do break it in two in the next two slides so we can get a closer view. So attendance flexibility is really a discussion between the instructor and the student, okay? This accommodation concerns attendance. It's important that the student and the instructor discuss responsibilities and limitations of this accommodation if the student is absent from class for a disability-related reason. This is what the conversation should look like. What the instructor considers to be a reasonable number of absences in this class. The instructor's preferred method of being contacted and what she considers timely notification of the student's absence, and the timetable to make up missed assignments and exams and quizzes if applicable. This accommodation does technically assist them if they did miss a class on an exam day. So it is the student's responsibility to coordinate the makeup of that exam. If you notice here, the OSSS recommends that the details of this discussion be documented via email. So we tell this to the student as well. If you guys come up with an agreement between the two of you for this class, put it into writing so there's no confusion in the long run. A student's responsibility when absent, the student is responsible for the following. The student must inform the instructor each time she is absent due to disability-related symptoms within the time frame established by the instructor and student during their conversation. And the student is responsible for any work or exams missed due to an absence and should make arrangements to complete missed assignments and quizzes in a timely manner. This next part at the bottom is the limitations. So it's important to know that this attendance accommodation does not allow a student to be excused from all absences. Instead, it allows the student a reasonable number of disability-related absences. The instructor determines what constitutes a reasonable number of absences in his or her class based upon objectives and curriculum requirements, keeping in mind that flexibility beyond the traditional attendance policy must be considered. An attendance accommodation may not cover frequent absences or being absent for long periods of time, even if it is disability related. So that kind of maybe even for an example would be the flu. So the student would still go through the normal process of contacting their advisor and submitting a doctor's note. This accommodation may not be permissible for class attendance or participation is considered to be an essential component of the course by the instructor. So a really easy example is labs. And we have these conversations with students when this accommodation is being approved, that labs are technically not a part of this. And then we have to work with the student on an individual basis if they do miss a lab and with the faculty member. This attendance flexibility letter will be added to the accommodation letter. And then we also keep a copy here as well. Every year we have the students with this accommodation come back in to sign a new agreement to make sure that they understand all of the requirements and the limitations, and they refresh that contract every year. Attendance flexibility. Here's just some key points is that the professor, you have your attendance policy. The student must initiate that agreement with the faculty member. Faculty is to be flexible in some way. It's not suggested just to say, don't worry about it, right? It's suggested to say, students who miss 5 classes might not gain the material necessary to pass that course, right? So anything over that might not be reasonable. Again, the OSSS suggests a written summary of the agreement between yourselves. It doesn't have to come to us, but we're happy to be copied on that. The student is required to make up any missing work and reschedule those exams. The student must meet the standards of this course. Okay, so accommodations do not guarantee success. If the student misses too many classes and cannot reach the standards of your course, then the student does not pass the class. Next up is we have is test room bookings, which is probably the most busy time for us in the OSSS and the most interactive with faculty as well. Here's a couple of background or just some points for test room bookings. That a student, we require them to book it at least 3 days in advance. That's for us to be able to coordinate exams, but also for you to be prepared knowing that a test needs to be delivered to the OSSS. The system will lock them out. So anything added in less than a 3 days notice is added physically by a staff member because the student reached out, letting us know that there was some kind of issue or they just forgot to put in the test room booking, and we help them get that in as soon as we can. The time limit on an exam is automatically calculated from the course length. And that's important to note if you have a once a week class that's 3 hours and you're only giving a 1 hour exam, the faculty have the chance to go in there, review, and edit the booking to the appropriate length. I have a few slides to show you how that works. We will always try to book the test room booking at the same time as your class. You may see a booking about a half hour before your class, and that is usually a fair sign that the student has another class right after yours and cannot be late to that class due to testing, so we start them a little bit earlier. Anything outside of that half-hour window would trigger us to ask for permission from the faculty. So if we see it's more than an hour outside of the class, we're going to have the student reach out, explaining why they need to take it at a different time and ask for your permission. Once that's permitted, we will go and enter the booking for them. I get a lot of questions about these automated emails. It is set up for 3 automated emails. So even if a professor goes in and approves the booking or sends us an exam, unfortunately, it will still continue to send those reminder emails. I did ask the accommodate coordinator that we work with if that was possible to change, and there was no ability on their end. So unfortunately, those emails continue to come even after everything seems to be set. Important to note, if no booking is sent to you, then we all expect that the student is going to take the test in class. They do not need to take a test with us. Accommodations are not mandatory. They are more safety nets. So if a student does not put in a booking, we're not expecting them to come to the OSSS that day. To access accommodate and a test room booking, on the my.scranton, you have your faculty resources card, and the second link is for accommodate. It's a single sign-on, and once you click through, you will end up at your homepage. Tara, I borrowed your glasses for these images today.
No problem.
So right at the top of your newsfeed, your homepage, you're going to see the test room bookings to review. So they live here until they're approved or edited by yourself. So you can see that for these different courses, one here, there's 2 bookings coming in, right? Once you click on one of those courses, and you hit review, it's going to open you up to the test date and the time. This is that automated length that came through based off the length of your class, and you have a chance here to change these. Okay, so if you know that you're not giving the full class period, you're only giving a 30-minute exam, you could change this to 90 minutes. It does ask you to kind of let us know what the rest of the class is having, so we can make sure that that's the appropriate time and a half or double time. And then as this is more of a live scroll, and we do apologize, we were going to do this live, but we wanted to make sure we were being confidential about student information during this recording. So it's more screenshot presentation this way. But as we scroll down, the next part allows you to kind of label the exam. Here is our uploading button if you prefer to upload an exam directly into this student's test room booking. Faculty information, what's the best way for us to reach you if there's an issue during the exam? Is this online? This is an important one as well. If it is online, it populates a different set of questions here. And I'll show you in a future slide. If you click no, it offers you the chance to let us know where to return that exam. So kind of just check everything that you can. Here's a chance for students may use the following, right? So if you're allowing some open note, you can check that. The student has a chance to check these as well. So if you come in and you see something that's not true, that's your chance to uncheck that. You can leave us a note here on any special instructions, and then another chance to upload that file. So there's two places already here in the test room booking for you to upload an exam for us. And we will print that here in the OSSS. I will show you an alternate way. So if Tara was to come to her homepage and instead of looking at those bookings that were up top, she can come over to her courses here, choose the semester, because as a veteran faculty member, Tara is going to have many semesters of courses in here. So when we filter to fall 2025, we just select any one of your courses. And then Tara has a chance to come over here and go to exam at the end. Here you'll be able to see bookings that have already been approved. Obviously your course details and your enrolled students. But if you go into exam and add a new exam, you kind of come back to that same selection area where you can add a name. This is, quiz number 3. Is it a final? No. A chance to choose the length of the exam, right? How long does your class have? Again, this important online exam button, which as you see, when you click no, it can populate location completed exam should be delivered to. And that's really important for us because sometimes the online catalog hasn't been updated for, the first few weeks of the semester. We might be looking at your office from a different location last semester. So it's really important. Some faculty ask us to leave it with a secretary or into a mailbox. So any specific instruction is really great. And again, an opportunity to select any special categories for the exam. Scrolling down a little bit further, again, here's a chance for you to upload that. Start and end date is really helpful, and I can use Tara as an example. I was looking for an exam, and she put in these dates, like anybody taking a test from this date to this date, and that was really helpful because somebody who does kind of weekly quizzes, it was really helpful for me to identify which quiz she was uploading and for which students. So the start and end date is great. It can be the same exact day. If that's only one day you're taking that test, then it's just that date. But Tara had multiple sections that tested on different days. This very bottom box is actually really important, and most people don't know about it, but if you can apply to all records. So since we're in Tara's courses, and then we're in the exam upload, if she checks this, any student who submits a test room booking linked to that course code, this file will automatically attach to their booking. So she only needs to upload it once in this way. If you go into individual test room bookings and upload an exam, you would need to do that for every student. So this is a really good feature here on this for everybody to know about. Okay, so just a little bit of some test room booking, details. Paper exams can obviously be uploaded. We just said that. I showed you a few different ways to do that. At any time, you can email them to OSSS@scranton.edu. That is our listserv where our graduate assistants and 3 of our staff members are always monitoring. You can, of course, hand deliver an exam to us at any time in LSC 590. That is our testing coordination room. We even have 588E, that's behind our main desk, and it's got an overnight drop box, a slit in the door. We will always reach out for missing exams, usually the day before the exams around 3 p.m. We're only really focused on that 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. time slot for the next morning, just to make sure that when we arrive early, we were all set and ready to go with these students. We're not kind of missing any exams. We always returned paper exams sealed in a confidential envelope to the office. That's why that return location information is really, really important. Online exams, specifically just the Brightspace online exams, they are spot checked the previous day for special access, and that's Mary Jane's role. One of her roles as the manager of the Center for Teaching Excellence. We just kind of take a peek in and then see if the access was built. And if it's not built, then we just send a nice friendly reminder And we understand that, sometimes we're creating things, close to test time, and that's totally understandable. But we just like to make sure that, again, that 8 a.m. hour, everything's set up and ready to go. If a student is a no-show, we'll email you that same day. It'll come from one of the staff members, myself, Rose, or Marion. And we always hold on to our sign-in and sign-out sheets. If you ever were curious how long a student took, you're welcome to email us or give a call, and we can let you know when somebody signed in and signed out. Okay. Just some resources for you. If you ever have any questions about some of the stuff that was gone over, this is your homepage on Accommodate System, and there's a lot of helpful links here. How to review or approve an exam, how to review just an accommodation letter, right? The exam checklist, including special access, that's for the Brightspace, right? So there's a great checklist here if you're kind of, wanting to know if I did everything properly. This is just some understanding the accommodations, and then again, how to upload an exam. So there's all these great resources right in your newsfeed on your homepage. Similarly, we have these resources on the OSSS webpage at scranton.edu. This is our homepage here. We have student frequently asked questions. We can do an OSSS visitation request. I created a form here. If you would like me to come to an individual meeting, hop on a Zoom, come to a department meeting, happy to come and talk about accommodations or just student resources. And you can identify inside of that form what kind of meeting you prefer. And this bottom one is faculty services. When you click here, it takes you to this page. This is the CTE page, where there's some new resources for AI, plagiarism. There's resources for Brightspace, okay, academic accommodation information. These are all really good information. And a lot of this is similar to what's on that accommodation homepage. So hopefully these resources will be great for you if you had any further questions. And we did save some time for questions, but I assume that they will probably come later.
I don't have any questions about that. Was really helpful.
Oh, these have 5 minutes.
Well, thank you so much for presenting, and I hope anyone watching this video enjoyed it, and you can get in touch with the OSSS with more questions.